Yo, what is up guys, PrOfSeS here, and today I'll be showing you some really good builds for multiplayer mode, and with these builds you will hopefully be able to beat your opponent and just become a better player, so stay tuned and yeah, let's get started. On the first place we have a priest that is especially good for priest, but you can use it for paladin. In case you use it for paladin, you will need to change your armor or your ring to air element because you need spike resistance for paladin. You don't need any spike resistance for priest because he is invulnerable. You just need 3 light based equipments because then your invulnerability ability is way longer, and that is why we don't need any spike resistance. So we have the armor is Arcane Mage suit, then we have this cute Ulu, and we have Bone Hammer, and all of these are light based. I put light essence on it. And as for the alternatives, we can get light champion set, or we can get Iron Maiden for the armors, and for the rings we can get Dragon Fang ring or light ring. For weapon you can use light hammer or golden dragon staff plus. If you use golden dragon staff plus, your area of damage will be a bit lower, but your damage will be higher. And as for the hammer of light, it's just the worst version of bone hammer, so I don't really recommend light hammer, but if you really need to, if you have nothing else to use, then use it. So with this build we can get around 5000 damage and 230 armor, which is quite enough. Big area of damage, you can penetrate through shields and light barriers, but you cannot jump on green platforms, which doesn't matter at all, for me at least. And that is everything for this build. The second build is especially good for ranger, but you can also use it for warrior, elite warrior and warlock. As you can see, I have around 8500 damage and 250 armor. I have spike resistance, fire resistance, I cannot penetrate through shields and light barriers, and I cannot jump on green platforms, but I have big area of damage, which is important especially for multiplayer mode, and I have high damage for bosses, so you can kill them in a matter of seconds. As for the alternatives, you can use Bakun set plus, Desert Rogue ring or Champion set. They are not as good, they don't have as high damage as this build, but they are useful. As for the rings, you can use Sea Wave ring or Steel Blow ring, and as for the sword you can use Glass Blade, which will allow you to penetrate through the barriers, but it doesn't have as big area of damage as Ice Claw, and it has a bit less damage. The next build is a really good build, and I think you can use it for almost every class, but I recommend it for a ranger, mage, warrior or elite warrior and warlock. It's especially good for ranger, but you know, you can just use it for anything else. So as you can see, I have around 6000 damage and around, let's say, 400 armor. I have fire resistance and spike resistance. I cannot jump on green platforms, but I can pierce through all the shields, light shields, enemy shields, and also since the last update, darkness element equipment destroys the bubble shields twice as fast as the regular equipment, which means I can literally obliterate any bubble shields and just literally any shield you have. It also have really high damage, so you will be able to beat all the bosses, and you can penetrate through the enemies, so you can just attack once and you will be able to kill more enemies, just like a spear. As for the alternative, you can use Iron Widow, or you can use light champion set, and as for the ring you can use it's Dragon Fang ring, and as for the axe you can use Toxic Axe or you can use Bone Axe. I prefer to use All Seeing Axe because it's my favorite, but you can use the other axes too if you want to. And that's it for this build. The fourth build is really good with Mage and Dark Mage, but you'll need to change the element. So if you're using Mage, you can just stay with this build you're seeing on the screen, but if you're using Dark Mage, then you'll need to change the element of your armor and ring to darkness, and then you should use Dead Vulture Staff. But as for the build you're seeing on the screen, it's really strong. You have 16,000 damage and you have around 140 armor. You don't have any spike resistance, but if you want some spike resistance, you just change the element to water or air. In this case, you will have around 5,000 damage less, which does not pose any problem in my opinion. So you can just do that. I just wanted to show you the damage you can achieve with this build. And yeah, as for the alternatives, you can use a Fire Moon Keeper armor instead of Swamp Witch Dress, and you can use Arcane Mage Suit also. As for the pet, you can use Spectator, Sea Wave Ring and Blue Ring instead. Just be sure to put the right essence on it. And as I already said, you can use Dead Vulture Staff, but in case you want to use Dead Vulture Staff, you will need to change the element of your vest equipment. The next build is my favorite build, and that is built for Rogue, Thief and Witch Doctor. It consists of Banker's Coat Plus, Kate with Air Element, and Dark Dagger Plus, my favorite item and the best item in the game. So with this build you will be able to get a lot of damage, especially if you activate your special ability on Thief and Rogue. So you have around 3600 damage and you have around 180 armor. You have spike resistance and fire resistance. You cannot jump on green platforms. You cannot penetrate through any shields unless it is bubble shield. You can destroy bubble shields twice as fast as compared to the other elements. And yeah, this build is really versatile. It's really fast. You can jump, you can go fast. It's just really good. You can get headshots really good. And yeah, as for the alternatives, you can use Dark Lord set instead, or you can use Arcane Mage Suit instead. As for the pet, you can use this Spectator, you can use Steel Blow Ring or Blue Ring. All are good, but this build I'm showing you on the screen is the best. As for the dagger alternative, you can use Venomous Dagger, which has smaller hitbox, but it will do the job. I prefer Dark Dagger Plus because of bigger hitbox, and yeah, it has a bit higher damage. And yeah, that's it. And the final build is for all the classes, and it is just insane. This is the strongest build with the highest damage in the whole game. So as you can see, I'm using it's called Swamp Witch Dress, and I have around 200 armor with it. I'm using a bunny ring with water essence, and also I put water essence on my Swamp Witch Dress. And I have Ancient Stone Staff with a water element on it. And all in all, I have 19,000 damage. I have fire resistance, I have spike resistance. I cannot jump on green platforms, but I can pierce through the shields of light shields and enemy shields. I cannot destroy bubble shields as fast as darkness element, but it's really in my opinion it's really good. If you want to have to destroy those bubble shields faster, you can just change the element to darkness if you are if you really care about that. As for the alternatives, you can use Arcane Mage Suit instead of Swamp Witch Dress. You can use instead of Bunny Ring, you can use Spectator, Sea Wave Ring and Blue Ring. And as for the staff, you can use Water Staff instead, but I recommend the exact all the steps I'm I showed you here. So just use all of these items to achieve this damage. If you use any other items, you will get less damage or less armor, or I don't know. So yeah, just stick with these builds. And yeah, that was everything, guys. I hope I helped you. Special thanks to all the guys that helped me make these builds. I hope I helped you. Take care and see you in the next Magic Rampage video. Bye bye.